Sure, you're not really going to be able to create a stick-on personality for a handgun flashlight like you can with owning night vision and posting about it on social media, but hey, sometimes the solution for shooting at night is some good old-fashioned weaponized photons. Today we're talking Modlite's PL350. What is up, guys? My name is John with PewPewTactical.com, your definitive source for gun reviews, gear guides. I'm doing weird stuff with my hand again. Adding a light to your handgun is one of the most popular first upgrades that a lot of new handgun owners take, and for good reason. You're gonna get versatility and allow yourself to illuminate both your target and your surroundings in a shitty situation if you have to, God forbid. And if owning a handgun or using it in any sort of practical self-defense scenario factors into, let's say, your home defense plans, or if you're planning on carrying, it probably makes sense to make sure that you can see stuff for, part of the Earth's rotational cycle where the sun is somewhere else.
Where's the sun at?
Where's the fucking sun? First things first, we need to get some nomenclature out of the way. Chances are, if you've encountered any discussion of weapon lights elsewhere whatsoever, or have even just perused them online while shopping, you've likely encountered the phrase lumens, which is the most common unit used to measure brightness itself over a given area, where 1 lumen is approximately equal to the brightness of 1 candle. While most casual shooters can get by just fine throwing down the cash for a minimum 1000 lumen light and calling it a day, there's actually much more to the story here, and it's become a big part of the conversation surrounding weapon-mounted lights within the last few years. While lumens are a measurement of brightness, candella are a measurement of luminous intensity in a given direction by a source that emits monochromatic radiation of a frequency 540 times 10 to the 12th hertz, and that has a radiant intensity in that direction of 1/683 watt per steradian, or in short, just how much light is in a given light beam. Or even simpler, boiled down to what really matters for gun world, just how much light makes it to your target. So while having a light with a high lumen rating is all fine and well, ideally, you want to give yourself the best shot at making sure that that light can actually be thrown downrange. And that's where candellas come in. Now on to the goods. Modlite's PL350 is unique among pistol weapon lights in that it's fully compatible with Modlite's existing rifle light heads if you so choose. But for the purposes of this review, we're focused on the PHL2V it comes with. The PHL2V boasts 1350 lumens, putting it neck and neck with the other titans of the handgat illumination category from Surefire and Streamlight, but a staggering 54,000 candela compared to the Streamlight TLR1HL's 20,000 and Surefire X300's 11,300 candela. The difference is immediately clear visually between the three, but we'll dive into that in just a little bit. We've got the complete PL350 package here, which includes the light body, PLH V2 head, a single 18350 battery with a USB charger, different inserts to make sure the light fits your chosen host weapon, and a sprue with an assortment of toggle switches of different lengths that can be swapped to tailor the light's activation levers to your individual preferences. Now, because I'm a dipshit that doesn't ever read anything before I go out and use it, I got out to the desert with this thing, brand new inbox, open that box, there's a QR code that you need to scan for instructions on how to use it, and I'm in a place where I don't really have service, so I throw it on the gun, not knowing that you need that little insert to make sure that it grabs the Glock rails, and I start shooting, and by the 3rd time it fell off the rails, and I can only really tighten that torque screw so far, figured something was up. But I got it sorted out. It's on the gun now. My first impressions here are quite stellar, and the PL350 does feel rugged as hell. I don't quite know how to explain it, but the light's got this sort of simplistic, almost brutalist flair that I didn't quite dig at first, but it's grown on me a lot during the time that I've spent with it. Not that aesthetics should be anywhere near the forefront of your decision-making process when it comes to choosing a weapon light, but god damn, my gun looked dumb as hell with both this thing and the Delta Point Micro on it. You have probably noticed, however, that the PL350 does have a good amount of standoff distance from the barrel itself on a standard Glock 17. So if that's not your thing, or you're considering the light for concealed carry stuff, you might want to look elsewhere. The toggle switches notably lack a momentary on feature, which I've seen some dorks screech about, but honestly, after a few mags of getting used to it, it didn't really bother me at all. The 350's toggle switches have this really pleasant tactile click when flipped either up or down, with both directions locking the unit into the on position and throwing angry photons downrange. You're probably going to want to play around with the different lengths of included toggle switches before you get to the range. Take it from me, I know. I got out there and realized that the stock ones are just a little bit too short for my thumbs, especially with the high and thumbs forward grip that I utilize and the accelerator cut that I've got on the ledge of my Glock frame. Just coming in and out of that grip and manipulating the light was a little bit of a pain, and although the PL350 has 2 slots so you can kind of figure out where you want it mounted on the rail, with a full-size Glock 17 rail it can only sit in the rearward one, which means that the standoff distance from the trigger guard is kind of what I'm stuck with. So throw the longer ones on there. I've got sort of upper end of medium, lower end of large, kind of just dude hands. Depends on glove manufacturers, but hey, you'll figure it out. Given that, oddly enough, the vast majority of my night shooting experience is under night vision and not with a weapon light, there were certainly some learning curves at play here, so keep that in mind. The light that normally lives on my Glock previously was Streamlight's TLR1HL, and I've been more than happy with it thus far, but sometimes you don't really know what you're missing until you've got a side-by-side comparison. While the TLR1's throw is decent at longer ranges, and it provides a fair amount of ambient light that radiates outwards, the PL350, by comparison, provides these areas of segmented light, with a brilliant hotspot in the center, a slightly less luminous outer ring that winds up downrange, and a slightly more dim area near you that softly illuminates your immediate surroundings. This one might ruffle a few feathers, but comparatively, a Surefire X300 with its much warmer beam, lower overall throw, and total lack of concentrated hotspots felt, candidly, like child's play side by side. And hopefully these comparison shots really drive that point home for you. Additionally, at closer ranges, that hotspot in theory is going to give you just a tad bit more feedback when rushing to get a shot off in an emergency if you absolutely need to. I'm actually not sure if there's a reliable way to measure the MOA of a beam of light, or if that's even something that would necessarily be standardized positionally across all production models, but it's worth mentioning as a thing you might be able to do in a life-threatening situation that would preclude you from getting a full sight picture before needing to fire for whatever reason. Impressively, you're also not getting a ton of light bounce back at you for the increase in candella even up close. And although the beam is still very powerful, it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it doesn't really saturate the target to the point of obfuscation. However, I did notice that the gas and carbon thrown into the air when firing does wind up getting between you and the target visually to a much higher degree than either the TLR1 or X300. And I suspect that the increased candellas and their measurement of just how much light is in a beam are at play here, as it feels pretty similar to throwing your high beams on in the fog. It's not a huge deal, but it is something to be aware of so that you can train around it to be certain. That extra candela is also going to bring along a neat feature that I don't really see talked about a whole lot as well, and that's the ability to overcome or punch through photonic barriers. While I won't bore you with the nitty-gritty on this one, the fact of the matter is that having a weapon light capable of overpowering other ambient light sources that might be found in places you might want to be able to get PID on a target that happens to be backlit by streetlights, headlights, so on and so forth, is probably a good idea. And to that end, the PL350 performs admirably. And now that I've sung some of its praises, here are a few potential downsides as well. As noted, the PL350 runs on a single rechargeable 18350 battery, and as such, features a runtime of anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. Comparatively, a TLR1's dual CR123A power source gives it approximately 90 minutes of runtime, but that, of course, is the price you have to be willing to pay if you want a light capable of throwing light this hard. Additionally, I ran across a really interesting video from Works Holsters that I'll drop a link to below, where in a test of several different PL350 PL350s found that none of them actually hit the advertised 1,350 lumens, all falling between 1,000 lumens or so with no clear explanation for the shortcoming. While we don't have the means of testing that ourselves, and the light still blatantly outperformed the TLR1 and X300 in our tests, the video is worth a watch so you can decide for yourself what's going on there. Additionally, it would be irresponsible of me not to mention some weirdness that happened with our personal PL350, so here goes. While we had no issues with the PL350 when we were out shooting in the desert at night, notably, we were using aftermarket Keep Power 18350 batteries. When we got back to the studio, we swapped back over to the included Modlite 18350 and the USB charger. And while I was swapping the toggle switches on the back of the light out for the longer ones that I was mentioning a second ago, I got them swapped out, popped the battery back in, and the light appeared to be completely dead. I originally had thought that perhaps the manipulation of the toggle switches, even though you just use a pair of needle nose pliers, get those bad boys off, and then press fit the new ones on there, had potentially bent something out of position or somehow caused a short. I don't really know, but we had no reason to suspect that the battery or the charger were to blame themselves. Given the fact that they appeared to charge normally, the battery ran through its normal power-up cycle, giving us a red LED indicator to show that it was charging, and then eventually went green. So we assumed it was all good to go. However, we never got that particular 18350 to work. Originally suspecting that the body of the light was somehow defective here, I contacted Modlite, and impressively, they got me a replacement inside of a week. So cool on them, dope customer service. It's always good to know that if things do go wrong, you're not gonna be out in the cold. However, upon receiving the replacement, I popped in that same battery as before, tested it, got a light beam, and then let it sit on my desk for about a week. Didn't touch it, didn't do anything, probably didn't even look at it. Until I picked it up this morning, coming into the studio to film this video, and lo and behold, it's fucking dead. So this is now twice that I have been about to film a review for this light, and the forces of the universe are working against me. However, I was able to link back up with the friend that had the aftermarket Keep Power batteries today, filming this video a little bit later than I wanted to, and lo and behold, the light works, which means that the original included Modlite 18350 battery doesn't work. Or alternatively, the USB charger doesn't work, given that it shows that the battery has a full, complete charged little green that's a color, green LED status showing a complete charge. Honestly, that's kind of a little bit disappointing because if you're picking up the full package, you ostensibly want a battery and a charger so that you don't have to buy those things aftermarket. Cool on Modlite for getting me the replacement body with the MF swiftness. Still a little bit bummed about the battery and charger. However, more than either of those things, I'm stoked that the light fucking works. Hear that? Cool. Don't really have more for you than that, but again, it would be irresponsible of me not to tell you about that experience. However, even with all of that weirdness, whatever any of that was, I do think that I have found my new go-to handgun light. Even if that makes me slightly sad in replacing my TLR1 because I'm stupidly sentimental about everything. It fits great in my existing Safariland 6534 deal holster. It throws more light downrange than any previous setup I've played with. It's got the ability to quick swap heads if I want to, and across all of my different gadgets that utilize them, CR123As can get pricey. The introduction of rechargeable cells in a handgun-centric package is a welcome one. Coming in at about $330 for the entire package with the PLH V2, it's significantly pricier than Streamlight's TLR1HL and roughly about the same as Surefire's X300. And with that being said, given my experience with it outside of the weird battery fuckiness, PL350 is the way to go if you've got the money to burn. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. I'm holding this gun in a bizarre manner that almost comes off threatening because it will no longer balance on the table and I would like to go home. Once again, my name is John with Pew Pew Tactical, and we'll see you next time.